Our program guest this morning is the Deputy Leader of the Opposition, Julie Bishop. But before that, let's take a look at what's happening in the Sunday papers. And Fran Kelly, we had 2 emergency cabinet meetings on Thursday, and by Saturday there was a great deal of detail in the papers.
And that's always bad for a government, and it's particularly bad for a government that you have to say is sort of on its knees if you look at the polls and the authority of a Prime Minister that was weakened anyway. What she did have going for her was that most of her senior cabinet ministers were publicly always saying, you know, we're backing her, or she's our girl, or quotes of that kind. Well, now some within the cabinet are leaking against her, and that's very bad for authority. But, you know, inexplicable really how a government that, as we could see, had that victory. I think it's a significant victory they had on Wednesday. You know, the fact that we actually now have a carbon price legislated in the lower house that will get through the Senate is a significant victory. To end the week with headlines like "Rats in the Ranks, Civil War" is just diabolical for this government.
Well, Piers, there are cabinet leaks and there are cabinet leaks, but this one would seem to be quite a large one.
Well, this is shocking, really, because it does show, as Fran said, the degree of dissension and her lack of support. Cabinet is not behind Julia Gillard anymore. And anybody who is still entertains a doubt that Kevin Rudd is running for Prime Minister is not plugged in. Now, I know that the Fairfax press was very late to this and denied the rumour for a good fortnight. But Kevin is out there and running now, and he is ringing everybody. I wouldn't be surprised if he picked up the phone and spoke to me within the next couple of weeks.
Well, the Fairfax press...
Well, let us know if he does, though, Piers.
Yeah, listen. The Fairfax press broke the story of the cabinet leaks, of course.
No, I'm talking about him running.
Yes,
David.
I know, but
yeah,
I just, you know, if you're just going to, you know, putting the boot into the Fairfax press, I'd just like to say we broke it. And I think, as 4 journalists on this set, we're all pretty happy that those leaks have leaked, aren't we?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, well, we love it that those leaks are leaked. I'm not saying it's not a good thing for me. I'm saying it's not a good thing for Julia Gillard. And I think that's unequivocally true.
Bad thing for Julia Gillard, but it's bloody interesting to see how that policy, whatever that policy is, was reached.
But I think the interesting thing, we'll get to the policy, and I know, Chris, you want to talk about that particularly, but I thought what's really interesting in this is the revelation that it was Julia Gillard almost alone, according to the leaker anyway, who insisted on bringing this legislation to the House of Reps, even though it was likely to go down. She insisted on that strategically.
It's been read as someone in the Rudd camp, of course, and for those that have forgotten what Kevin Rudd was like as Prime Minister, expect to see some more of this.
What we've tried to do as a government for the period that we've been in, since 2007, is to make a difference on this as well for these munchkins for the future.
Well, munchkins can't wait.
No, the munchkins are just lined up. Yep.
When we look at the policy adjustments that we saw this week, it would appear, we'll talk more about this later, there's been some retrofitting of what the government said by its department. But, Piers, there's a story this morning about where some of the refugees might go. Yes,
Mr Schubert in the Sunday Age and the Fairfax papers in Sydney as well has said that the asylum seekers released from detention will go out into regional Australia where they may help fill shortages of labour. Now, this is real policy on the run, because we're speaking about people who actually haven't been defined yet as refugees. These are people who have not been through the identification and verification process.
They are.
I beg your pardon?
Yeah, we're not sure on that, Piers, I don't think.
No, they're going to be identified and verified before they...
No, they're not.
Not as refugees, but who they are, the fact that they're healthy and that they don't present a security risk, they're all preconditions to release into the community on bridging visas.
But they're not genuine. At this point, they are not refugees, David. This is what I'm saying.
I know. It's terrifying, isn't it? Do you know at the moment...
Well, I'm not terrified, but what I'm saying is this, that it's yet another lack of policy, and what we're seeing here is the government trying to... make this catch and release program look as if it was all part of a plan for regional unemployment.
I'm not sure that Chris wants to discuss this right at this point, but here is something to consider.
Yes.
There are 6,000 asylum seekers on bridging visas, absolutely free in the community at the moment in Australia, and that figure is pretty constant over the years. They haven't been detained. They haven't been through any of those processes.
But these are people who arrive with identification.
They arrive. Yes, they arrive by air.
Yeah.
And there are as many at the moment in immigration prison simply because they come by sea.
Okay,
No.
We'll have more time. We will have more time to
this
discuss
Yeah,
about
I
that
think
later.
that's an important point.
One of the people we do know has been very busy in the community, though, is Cory Bernardi.
Cory Bernardi in a rather shadowy way. It turns out, and I'm reading from this morning's Sunday Age in a story by Deborah Goff, it turns out that Cory has set up this web of websites under the sort of the banner of the cando.org.au to advance conservative causes, of course. And of course, with Cory Bernardi, you must understand that one of the most important conservative causes is to get swearing off television. Because swearing is worse than nudity. Did you know that?
Well,
swearing can be heard, nudity can't be heard. It is a very complicated argument.
Well, he's
anyway,
been singularly unsuccessful, David, because
Yes, I
I've
know.
never heard of this program
well,
of his.
you should, yeah. Anyway, the Conservative Leadership Foundation, run by Cory, is putting up, there's this whole web of websites there, and if you give money to them, it's not very clear where the money goes
Are
to.
they asking for money?
No, they're open to donations. And anyway, all of this is swirling around, and it's some kind of imitation of apparently of the American Tea Party movement, because as we know, Cory's a major Tea Partier.
Well, I'll ask you all to...
Well, this sounds like a lot of smear and
Q's.
innuendo. Thank you, David.
Well, it wasn't him, it was the
I
paper.
thought you were proud of the Tea Party.
Well, that's the papers for now. Our studio guest is the Deputy Opposition Leader, Julie Bishop, and while she joins us, let's hear the Prime Minister's explanation on why offshore processing was shelved.